Hello, and oh look, that music's on as it always does. When will I ever learn? Let's turn that down. Hello everybody, and welcome to Creative Therapy episode number 6 or something. Music is kicking in and going off again. How wonderful and slick. Welcome to Creative Therapy episode 6, and a show that we are calling, I'm looking at it here because it's a nice title, Hopes and Dreams, The Sands of Time. No, we're not talking about a cheesy Channel 5 daytime movie. We're not going to discuss that at all. Although having said that, look at this. This is a film that came up on Channel 5 just the other day, and it is called Murder, She Baked, a peach cobbler mystery. That film was made in 2016. So we're not even going to talk about that, but that is a real film. If you've seen it and you're watching this, please tell us what that's like. Let me introduce you to Steve. Hey Steve, how you doing?
Howdy.
Are
you hopes or are you dreams? I'm not sure which of the two.
Hopes and Dreams, the cop show. Hopes and Dreams, the Sands of Time. There probably is a film called that. We should have Googled that whole thing.
Should have.
To see if that exists.
People are going to think this is a review of that really bad B movie.
Of that film. But actually, we should be reviewing whatever that... Hang on, let me see if I can bring that up again.
Murder, She Baked.
Murder, She Baked. I can't seem to bring that up into this scene. Yeah, so...
What does that even mean? I mean, Murder, She Wrote makes sense.
Yeah, but I think they're playing on that,
Murder, She Baked?
Murder, She Baked.
Did she kill someone with a really bad cake?
I've no idea, but those films are just churned out. And those films must cost... They still must cost hundreds of thousands of pounds to make.
Yeah, who signed that off?
And they go straight to TV, don't they? And there's obviously money in these things, but my God, madness. But no, that's not what we're talking about. Steve, explain what we are talking about. Oh no, we should do a quick beard update. We mustn't forget the beard update. Looking good.
I don't think there's a massive amount of change from mine from last week. Still a Emperor Ming goatee going on. Yeah,
still going with that. Yeah, I'm still going for the same thing as I have. I haven't done any trimming, haven't done any taming. I'm just letting it do its thing, but I'm getting very close to just getting rid of it all.
Whipping it all off.
Or going back to the old little goatee that I used to have.
Yeah.
But enough about that. That's not what people are interested in. Or is it? I don't know.
Who knows? We'll see. Comments and let us know.
Hopes and Dreams, The Sands of Time. What are we going on about there?
Well, I think basically we want to have a chat about how we and obviously everybody else in the world may feel about getting older and linking it to our main theme of creativity, and whether you feel like you maybe get less creative the older you get or more creative the older you get, and then as a result of that maybe comparing yourself with the successes of other people. And what naturally happens is you can, if you're 40 and there's a hugely successful 25-year-old doing the thing that you're itching to do, you obviously compare yourself to them. So there's a whole discussion around that area there. So do feel free to join in and comment, anybody listening or watching. Let us know what you think.
If you're watching live, say hello and comment. Hello, Fancy Apprentice, our regular viewer. Thank you for joining us again. And if you're watching this after the fact, which I would imagine whoever does watch it after that, because I think probably 3 o'clock UK time may not be the best time to put these out. But at the moment they've got to suit us, and these lockdown things are kind of what they are, aren't they?
Exactly.
So we'll probably think about the timings of things in the future when we do these sort of proper like. But yeah. So comment.
You did that thing again.
I did. I definitely waited till the end of the sentence. I normally do this.
Anyway.
So what I think is,
someone send him a mug with something interesting on, so that he can do that and show everybody
a different mug each time
that week.
Yeah, that could be a thing, couldn't it?
You're going to get inundated with mugs now, mate.
I'm putting off digging into this subject because I'm kind of like, how do we start? This is sort of quite a strange one, isn't it?
It's a tricky one, and I know that this whole area that therapy is quite an important word in the description of what we're doing at the moment.
Yeah.
And I think this could really dig deep into our own psyche. about how we feel about maybe the aging process and the position we're in at that point at our age. I don't know. I know why you're putting it off, and I completely understand, because it's kind of laying yourself bare, isn't it,
kind of,
to the
yeah.
world.
Yeah, maybe, but also I think it's a kind of, I don't know, maybe I just not got my head around the specific topic, yeah, and as to sort of where to approach from. I was thinking actually, because I think as at my age now, I've done quite a few things in my life, or my career journey has sort of evolved and changed. So, obviously one starts out at school or leaving school with a passion. Some people do, knowing what they want to do, if you're lucky enough, perhaps you end up becoming successful at that and still doing that throughout your career, or maybe that evolves, or maybe it's in, because we're talking in the creative world, aren't we? Not necessarily I want to go and be an accountant or something. Not that that's probably easy to do, but I think definitely in the creative world, because it's quite hard to achieve goals in the creative world because of the very nature of it. It's hard to become successful, isn't it? And so I think either your plan to change because you've not been successful in your original goal, or perhaps even you've evolved and you've sort of grown out of that and evolved into something else. And I think that is kind of where I'm at. I think I've gone through different incarnations of things and sort of found my feet. And I guess if I was to then go back and say, oh, what have I learned from that? Is I sometimes wish I could have found what I do now earlier almost, but actually I don't know, because that writes off what I did do earlier, and I wouldn't have wanted to not do that because it was great, and I think it made me the person I am. The sands of time made me the person.
Well, I mean, that's really interesting you say that, because that's a really positive way of looking at things, and for me, that's a real surprise is probably the wrong word, but because I know how negative I can be and how judgmental of myself I can be, and about where I am in my career path and where I am in life in general. So it's good to hear you say that. It's good to say that you feel like you've achieved a lot. Bringing it back to me, I would love to be a full-time director and filmmaker. I kind of work in the industry, do a lot of corporate stuff to pay the bills, but I do bits and pieces of creative work on the side. But the main thing that would be the descriptor of me, filmmaker, I sometimes feel a little bit like an imposter in that I haven't necessarily made a full-length feature film. And I feel like, if I was 20 again and I could look forward into the future, I would have said to myself, yeah, by the time you're 30, you'll have a couple of features under your belt. And to get to 50, I'm admitting my age live on the internet now, but to get to 50 and to not film any feature films yet, I feel kind of disappointed in myself, and I feel like I'm not progressing towards that goal anytime soon, if that makes sense. So that's a kind of a knife that I'm digging into my soul there, that I'm really kind of exposing to everybody. So yeah, I mean, that's the opposite of what you just said, I think.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, I totally understand what you're saying, and I think we share the same, very much the same sensibilities and feelings about that sort of stuff. We call ourselves filmmakers. I guess I've also got the whole photographer thing on the side as well, as I call myself a photographer and a filmmaker. I guess filmmaker in the sense that we are making films. We are, everything we make, we're producing these little YouTube things, are films in a sense. But actually what we really mean is like proper narrative drama, isn't it? Or something like that, proper cinema stuff, if we're really going to be ambitious. That's the goal, isn't it? To direct something like that. And yeah, and trying to make a film is incredibly difficult to get to that point where you're making it for a studio or a fully funded film. It's incredibly difficult to make it kind of off your own back, which is kind of what we've been doing with short films throughout since I've met you 19 years ago, just over 19 years ago. And so it's all really hard, isn't it? And sort of expensive, and it's sort of getting cheaper as technology comes along. It allows us to do things like this. So we do have platforms now. We've often talked about when we both started. I mean, the films I started were shot on VHS cameras that sat on your shoulder, and you had nowhere to show them. We didn't have the internet. You couldn't have YouTube didn't exist. We had nowhere to show them. So it's interesting how things have changed. But yeah, that's a tricky one, isn't it? And partly that it's such a time-consuming thing to invest your time into and money into making a film at our level, perhaps, if we're going to call it that, that may be, then you go, is it a realistic thing to do? That's the pessimist in me goes, realistically, we're not going to suddenly become some great British filmmaker in America or England or wherever. I think the realism is that the odds of having that break or that luck or so do you just give up? I don't know.
I know what you're saying. Yeah, I think that's where the realism side of things kicks in with me, and I don't think I'm under any illusion that I will be the next Guy Ritchie or whatever from the UK. It would be great if I suddenly if I did do my feature and I got a lot of traction and a lot of attention, and that led on to me being a full-time director. But I don't think I'm under any illusion that that's going to happen. But I still feel like even if it was just for myself, I should have produced a feature by now if I'm going to call myself a filmmaker. But then maybe let's analyse that and work out why is it we feel like age is a barrier. Why should it be that time and the passing of time and the older you get restricts what you do? I mean, just I said to you that I would look up successful people before we started. I've got a thing here. Charles Darwin, apparently he was 50 before he published on the origin of species in 1859. And obviously everyone always talks about the Samuel L. Jackson example. He was 46 years old before he starred with John Travolta in Pulp Fiction. But so why let's analyze that. Why is it a societal thing, do you think, that puts pressure on people to achieve at a younger age, and then if you reach a certain age, which we don't know what that age is, once you've reached that age, you're on the scrap heap and you're no good to anybody?
Yeah, I think it depends, doesn't it? I think the reason you want to be successful in the industries that we're sort of trying to get into or working in or whatever, or have ambitions to be in, are all about sort of starting early, because you want to do lots of stuff, don't you? I mean, you can start later, but then, until they invent the ability to live 200 years, if you suddenly have your big movie break at the age of sort of 70, you're going to be a bit pissed off because you've got lots of stuff you want to do. I want to do that at 20 so I can evolve and have this body of work.
Sure.
I think as a director, it's less... age is less of an issue, I would imagine. I think as an actor, it's a different thing, isn't it? It's obviously well known that as you get older, it's probably a harder thing. But then also you think as an actor, for those who don't know, I was an actor professionally for many years and ran a theatre company and did sort of touring theatre. Never really went down the or broke into the TV or film area, but it was sort of theatre based, rather specific style, sort of physical theatre type stuff. But and then sort of moved out of that for all sorts of reasons, which we'll probably go into detail. In fact, I think we filmed an episode with us talking about our careers and stuff in a bit more detail, so we'll play that out at some stage.
Yeah, it's interesting. Do you think if you were doing what you were doing then now, and you had access to things like YouTube and the internet and all that offers, do you think that would have more naturally led on to maybe you doing film, acting in film and acting in TV shows? Because, as you say, it's more readily available now, isn't it?
So what do you say? You're saying if back then things were like they were now?
Yeah.
Here,
because obviously using Dracula, say, as an example.
Yeah.
You produced Dracula, didn't you? And if you were doing that now, would there not be a kind of a feeling that you should maybe film it and then maybe broadcast it?
Well,
and
possibly. And I think, my sort of in a nutshell, if it's possible to do that, my journey through my life as a professional actor and director, in my years of running the theatre company and doing stuff like that and working with other theatre company stuff, I always felt that I was very much a frustrated filmmaker doing that. I think the type of theatre we did was visual, physical theatre. I think we tried to use in a number of productions, although not Dracula for probably obvious reasons, we tried to use projection and technology and TV. And, I think a lot of our shows had video elements in them, although this was, we're talking over 20, 25 years ago. And And obviously that was very difficult to do because the technology was huge and expensive. I mean, we would have loved, I would have dreamed of having video projectors and doing all that stuff that everyone does now, because video projectors are this big, But back then, the video projector was the size of a house. It was ridiculous, and it cost £1,000. So we kind of couldn't do the stuff we wanted to do. We tried our best. We did a show which had old TV monitors just dumped everywhere, and they were all playing stuff. We had to have some in the audience as well, so the bigger theatres people could see what we're seeing. So it wasn't ideal, but you make it work for the creative project. But so I think I did. And the reason I actually stopped running the theatre company, apart from kind of needing a break after about 8 or 10 years, was because I wanted to try and make a film, and the technology was becoming a bit more digital at that time, and we were getting into digital tape as opposed to VHS. And I think I wanted to spend huge amounts of time and resources in putting on a tour to actually trying to make a short film and ultimately make a feature film. That was the sort of goal, and that's kind of how I met you as well, wasn't it, Steve? We made a few short films, and the goal was always to make this feature film. I think I would have done a lot. I think back then I was very passionate about theatre and being an actor and a director, and I think I would have used film and that side of things within theatre, because there's nothing quite like putting on a show to a live audience as we're doing now.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. The live element does add a whole different.
Yeah, luckily we had a bit of a bigger audience. So.
Yeah, exactly.
But
I mean, in this kind of realm, you've got access to an unlimited number of people. When you were doing theatre related stuff, you're kind of reliant on the capacity of the theatre and a number of nights that you're putting the show on. Whereas, what's that? 500 people maybe over a course of 5 nights. What's that? 2,500 people, if my maths is right. Whereas on YouTube, potentially millions of people could see you.
Absolutely.
I don't know whether we're going off topic here slightly.
Probably a little bit. I mean, I think they're two very different things. They're very different. I mean, obviously putting on a show to a live audience is quite a different sort of feeling and vibe and energy than doing something on YouTube and making a film, and that's a slow process there. I think I'm a bit of a perfectionist, so the reason filmmaking appealed to me is because I could really get that performance right and edit it and keep working on doing all that. In a show, you obviously rehearse a lot beforehand and get it right for the actual show. But we probably have gone off topic a little bit.
Well, let's bring it back then, because I was just thinking that maybe
let's get a comment quickly before we do that, because
go for it.
Because Fantasy Apprentice is saying, hang on, I wonder if I can do this. I haven't read this because I find it quite hard still listening to what you're saying and reading a comment. If I'm reading the comment, I'm not listening to what you're saying. That's the way my brain works. It's terrible. Oh, that disappeared. I meant to change that. That stays up for like 5 seconds. That's ridiculous. So I'll read it again. I noticed that I'm a little too creative and coming up with you lucky thing, coming up with too much, really. I have 22 unfinished projects and 7 of them are unfinished stories.
It would be great, Fantasy Apprentice, if you could maybe explain what the nature of those unfinished projects are, so that we can talk about it with a bit more specificity. But I mean that's a great position to be in, isn't it? To and also, Fantasy Apprentice, maybe talk about whether your age has had an impact on any of those projects, whether it slowed you down, sped you up, or had any effect at all, because that's obviously what we're talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think one of our things which we discussed in previous shows is that it's all very well saying the massive difficulty of making a feature film or even a short film and procrastinating and all that, but then it's actually the coming up with good ideas for those things. So bottle it and hang on to it while you can. This ability to actually have too many creative ideas to put out.
Exactly.
It's like getting blood out of a stone sometimes, isn't it?
It can be hard getting creativity flowing.
Yeah, getting that going and then getting excited about it, isn't it? It's like it's getting excited and then motivate you to do it. But I think it's funny. I think going back to topic slightly is that the whole thing of whether you're sort of jealous of seeing other people have a success. Now I'm in my 50s as well. I know it's crazy, isn't it? I know it's
who'd have thunk?
Without the beard, you would have just bowled over. But I think as an actor, when you're an actor, you're kind of more jealous because when you're an actor, you tend to be very passionate about all that, and you really want to have some success and play those parts. And you watch a film and you go, "Oh my God, that's got to be the most fun thing in the world, being in that movie." And the majority of actors will never get the opportunity to be in a blockbuster or something like that. Or even a nice quirky indie film. But you obviously want what you're in to be some kind of success and be seen. I've never been the type of actor who just wanted fame. You know, I want to be famous. I'm famous. I had no real interest in fame. I'm not bothered about that. I wanted to, you know, the fun of making a film, being in a film, you know, or even back when I was younger, the passion for wanting to do plays and be on stage. And I think I kind of got over that a little bit, but actually making films, there's something great fun about it. Being in them, probably directing them, incredibly stressful. But I think, imagine if you're at that level of just being able to pick your scripts, and you know, you're already you know, the directors know you're a sure thing. They know, you know, you've got a track record. You know, you're at that position in your career. So there's that jealousy as an actor. I think in sort of what I do now, I don't know, which is more photography and video work and stuff like that. I don't ever necessarily have that jealous feeling. I think I'd probably love to make you know, I look at films that are being made and say, oh, I wish I'd made that, you know. But it's different. I don't. Maybe that's maturity as well. Maybe I've sort of got older and gone and resigned myself to the fact that actually, you know, it's difficult to get to that level, especially when you've got family and all this sort of other stuff in real life. You know, you can't. I'm not a single person who can go out and just sort of take off and try, you know, go and make a film for 3 months or do stuff like that. So I think I've either resigned myself to that fact, but I don't necessarily feel like that or compare myself to other people's successes. Maybe if I knew someone, maybe if a friend of mine, maybe Steve, if you'd suddenly, you know, made some quirky, you know, indie film and it suddenly was the next, you know, Lock, Stock or whatever, and I'd probably sit there going, oh, lucky thing. How has he managed to do that?
You'd probably be involved in it anyway.
Well, let's hope
whatever
so.
capacity. If even if it was only for a few days because that's all you could spare, you'd at least be able to say, well, you know, I was involved in that. I'm
not saying that if someone wants me to be in their big movie, I you know, my partner, you know, my children won't let me go and do that. They're very, you know, they'll definitely do. So don't just write me down to that bit part, Steve, just for a few days filming. I could do the full 3-month shoot.
So that's interesting there, because you went straight for that I would cast you as in front of the camera. Do you think that and is that exposing what you would really love to actually do?
I think because we were just, I don't know, I think because we were just talking about going back to, well, I think we were just talking about the thing that actually as an actor I was more kind of, I'm jealous of not having that career, or I'm not having the success that probably is. Whereas as a photographer filmmaker, I'm not. So when we then talked about that, I think I then went into that. That's the part of, that's the career, the career in me that probably would be a bit jealous. But actually, having said that, it is really funny, and this is probably going into another topic and subject like we're prone to doing on this show. Is that it took a really long time. I wanted to be an actor all my life from when I was very young. You know, I was in youth theatres and I was, you know, coming out before I went to drama school, all that kind of stuff, and running a theatre. You know, so as far as I can remember, I wanted to be an actor, and it's been quite a weird transition saying I'm not an actor anymore and now I'm a photographer or a filmmaker, and then that brings into the whole imposter syndrome thing that we'll talk about on another show. But so I think I probably still think of myself as an actor at the end of the day, because that's what I did. That's what I sort of trained as and spent so many years of my life doing. And you then sort of have children and have to find other ways of making a living, because you don't make much of a living as an actor unless you're very lucky. And found myself having, and actually the way I got into photography was because I needed to do something creative that I could do sort of by just going out on my own, really, and without tons of equipment like you do when you're, because I got into video before photography and then got into photography and then got back into video. Thanks, Steve. So yeah, I guess you never stop thinking of yourself as an actor, and maybe that leads you back to the thing is you don't ever, you know, maybe I will suddenly, as I get older and grow this big beard and I've shaved my head and it's a completely different me, maybe that's the actor that will become a bit more successful. I get more confident at auditions. I was terrible at auditions and stuff like that. I was insecure, you know, terrible sight reader, you know. So actually, you can get into the acting career at a later age if you're lucky. Well, you can try to get into it. You know, I know people who have tried at later age and ended up just doing lots of profit shares and little short films and not really ever making a living. So it's as difficult as ever, but it's not something that you're too old for, really. Certainly as a man, I think probably they say it's harder for women because there are less parts for women and older women, and there's all that whole debate, isn't there? But the filmmaking thing, I think you just got to keep plugging away, haven't you, and keep making.
Yeah, because it's about. I think I will. I don't think I would ever necessarily give up, but I do. I really wish I could be more like you in that respect, because I have this real tendency. I'm watching something, someone's being interviewed. They're saying, "Oh, you know, I was involved in such and such," and I'm straight on Wikipedia. I want to know, you know, what their background is, how they got where they are, what age they are specifically. and then I have that real jealous thing where I think, well, okay, and I always kind of look back maybe and think, did I, choose the wrong path? Did I make the wrong selections growing up? It's funny. This is couch time for me.
Yeah,
this is real. This is really getting into the core of me, and I don't really. I can't really explain it. I would love to be more pragmatic about it.
And I think this is, like you say, we say these creative therapy shows are this lockdown edition is very much us just tackling these little subjects, and we find ourselves very quickly getting drawn into the deeper aspect, which I think we really want to do, but we'll probably do when we stop doing these lockdown editions and we do these shows sort of what I call properly, and maybe they are an hour long, and we do get into it a little bit more intensely and
get a couch in.
Get a couch in, pick that specific point. We'll sit there. We'll both be on the couch, so it'll have to be two couches with both of us.
Yeah, we'll have someone in the middle playing.
Do we have to take it in turns to be the therapist? But it is interesting. I think it's difficult because we don't choose what we do as a career, or what we're trying to do, attempting to do, striving to do as a career, just through needing to earn a living or to pay the mortgage stuff. We do it because we have a passion for it, and we do it, and we won't stop doing something like this, whether that evolves slightly like my journey has. We won't stop doing it, and success won't stop. Lack of success or lack of being spotted. What's the thing? No. Can't think of the word. Being discovered, won't stop us, because I think you have to do it. I get very low, get very probably depressed if I'm not doing stuff. That's part of the reason for creating this very YouTube channel and putting this out, is because I feel the need to create something. And if I don't, I feel life is sort of ticking away, and both of our situations are quite different with other distractions and drains on our time. But we're at 26 minutes in, so how about let's end on a positive and maybe talk about how maturity and getting older is a massive positive in what we choose to do. How would you say it helps you in your creativity? Across the board, so filmmaking, photography, everything that you do, theatre. That is a really good question. I wish I had time to think about. So hang on. So hang on a minute. Let me.
Oh, there's that mug again.
Yeah, that's my need to think.
Kobayashi underneath.
I need to think. Yeah. So what was the question? I've completely forgotten it. It's being older.
How does your age help you create creatively?
Well, okay, I think definitely in the sense, in a very physical sense, being at this age, I've accumulated all the equipment needed to do stuff. So there are a lot of young people wanting to be filmmakers and going, I wish I had, that £1,000 DSLR or that camera or whatever to do. We were back there going, I wish, all this equipment you need to do it, And as you get older, you realise, I think, it's not all about that. It's about having a really good story and a good idea, and then finding a way to make it work. But we're also lucky enough, because of the areas we work in, to have everything we possibly need to other than maybe a great idea for a story, but to actually make all this happen. I mean, look at what we're doing here. So in a sense, being older, you have a bit of money if you're lucky enough. But at the same time, maybe, I don't know. We've both chosen creative careers. Maybe you don't have very much money because you're trying to be an actor or a filmmaker or something. But I certainly think, I don't know. We're gonna have to revisit this one, definitely, because it's a hefty one, isn't it?
It is a big one. I mean, for me, just maybe save you slightly. I'm thinking the whole, the 10,000 hours thing is probably something that age gives you. So I can't remember who it was now, which book it was, where they said you have to do, in order to be good at something, you've got to have done it for at least 10,000 hours.
Absolutely, yeah.
And if you can cram that into a really, really young age, if by the time you're 20 and you want to be a basketball player, you've played basketball for 10,000 hours, chances are, not always, but chances are you're going to be a pretty good basketball player. But if that doesn't happen necessarily, the older you get, then your ability to get to that 10,000 hours becomes more likely, because you do the thing over and over. And I think that is one of the things that having age and maturity is an advantage. So, I think you maybe make fewer mistakes that your experience allows you to kind of get around, whether it be filmmaking, photography, acting, theatre, art, whatever it is, you kind of because you've done those things before and you know where the kind of the fences are, you're able to get over them a bit more easily. So that's maybe a way that age helps, and I think that is definitely a way it helps me. You know, even 10 years ago, I would have had less experience in what it is I'm doing, and I think I'm probably more you know, a better kind of filmmaker now as a result of that. I just wish I could have crammed it in less time.
Sorry, I'm distracted because the music started playing, which has actually been sort of quite nice because it's sort of like wrapping up music. Can you? I don't know if you can hear this music.
I never hear it. Yeah,
you don't hear it.
Gets to no.
For some reason, I've cut back to us and the music's drifting. I think that's very true. As you get older, I think there is. It's a sort of stereotype thing to say maybe, but you get wiser, you get more mature. You've done more, you've experienced more. You also, I think, I see the world differently than I did probably 10 years ago, probably 20 years ago. I think I'm probably a little bit more able to. You're just a bit wiser, take things at a different pace maybe. Doesn't mean you don't still get frustrated or depressed or anxious, you're not driven. I don't know. It's funny. The driven thing is a thing, isn't it? And that's probably another subject. Whether you're
that is
driven,
a definite subject.
You know, I could always be more driven, but there's all sorts of reasons for probably why I'm not. But it's interesting, and it is. I think it's been. I mean, our shows are rambling anyway at the best of times, but I think this is a subject that's quite a wide subject, and it's be good to get it in there and
really zero in on it.
Yeah.
So that's half an hour. That's you know, at the risk of kind of droning on and, as you say, kind of going off at crazy tangents again. Maybe we should wrap that up and revisit that in a future episode.
I think so, and much like the Oscars, I think the music came in to sort of someone off stage was going, "Come on now, come on, the music's coming in."
Where's the hook?
You've had 3 minutes of chatting, and I think even our viewers have decided to abandon us. But I don't know. But anyway, write in the comments if you're watching this after the fact. Write in the comments below about what you think. If you're watching this, you might be watching this in 2 years' time. Who knows? Let us know what you think. We'll revisit these subjects as we're going to revisit probably all these lockdown edition subjects. Subscribe to us on YouTube so we know we've got some people sort of encourage. I mean, I'll be quite honest. We're doing these sort of shows for ourselves. If we're being totally selfish, you know, the fact that people watch is a little bonus. But I think with any YouTube channel, we have no, you know, we're unknown, so we're kind of doing these for our own amusement and therapy. So
exactly, yeah.
You know, let's go track down that film about peachy bloomers or whatever it was, baking bread.
Murder She Baked.
Murder She Baked.
Yeah.
I feel I need to watch that now and review it. So I was going to say, this is the stuff we all need to say, is subscribe to our YouTube channel, but also we're on Twitter and we're on Instagram, so it's probably worth subscribing to those as well if you're watching this, so you know what's coming up and when. But
we need a icon somewhere, don't we? That we can.
We probably do.
I don't think we have any icons, do we? So maybe we want to do.
I mean, if you're watching this on YouTube, you've found the channel already. So hit subscribe and tick the bell. I think that's what you say. Hit subscribe, tick the bell. Whenever I cut back to this, it seems to go to that lower third for some reason. I need to turn that off. And we'll see you next time when we have more.
See you later.
Creative therapy.